Sponsored by JMR Rentals, professional digital cinema and broadcast equipment rentals in Brooklyn, New York. jmrny.com.
Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and a little later on the program, I'll be speaking with the writer-director of 5 Pounds of Pressure, the new feature from Lionsgate. But first, here's a sneak peek at the film.
When I was a kid, we had to write about our favorite heroes, and this one kid, he wrote about his father, and that always stuck with me.
There's nothing special about wanting to be special. It's the most ordinary thing in the world.
I'm Adam. Did 13 years time. Today's my last day. Got a new place. Got a new job. But the really big news, I met my son. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you.
You recognize him? He used to run these streets.
I feel I got like a second chance.
Yo, let me get some of that.
Fuck it. I know I got a second chance.
Go take care of him. Show him who's boss.
I can't keep running.
So you really want to do this?
Yeah.
5 pounds of trigger pressure. So your aim, never off.
I can't change what I did. I know who I am. I know who I can be. And I know I can still do something good.
And now, here's my interview with Phil Allocco. Phil, welcome.
Oh, hi. So nice to meet you.
So, I saw the movie last night. Thank you, people, for sending that over to you. It's a very impressive film. I want to talk to you a bit more about it. What my first question that I was curious about was what inspired this story?
Well, first off, thanks for watching it, and thank you so much for having me and saying nice things about it. That's great. So, there wasn't a direct inspiration for the film. I was just kind of writing. But when I look back, I mean, I grew up in this kind of world, and these are the type of people I knew, and a lot of these stories are very similar to things I experienced or people I knew experienced. So, so there is that. I guess as a writer, you're always kind of sharing your experiences through these characters, you know. And I wrote it a long time ago. I started writing it like over 15 years ago. It was one of those films that was difficult to get made, and at times didn't even know it would get made. So it was thrilling to see it all come together. You know, kind of films have a life of their own, you know. You never know when they're gonna kind of all come together.
So did you grow up in Brooklyn?
I did.
I'm in Brooklyn now.
Oh, great. I'm in Brooklyn now too.
Oh, no kidding. You probably could have come to the studio. So is this autobiographical? Is it like a roman à clef of sorts? Like, are there real people that these characters are based on?
Some things. I wouldn't say any of the stories are specifically true, but I did know people who have committed those kinds of actions, and I did know people who were small-time dealers. There were definitely some of Mike and Lef who were like two of my uncles who did those kinds of deals. There's a specific scene, even where Lef gives Mike a rusty old gun. That's a real story, didn't come about in exactly that way, but those are, kinds of things that I grew up around. And I definitely did know people who made big mistakes and wound up in prison. And I knew people on both sides of those kind of horrible things. So I think I was always kind of fascinated about that and about the complexity, the moral complexity that surrounds that. And what ultimately I'm interested in films that explore what it means to be human, you know. I like those things that make us look at sides of ourselves or things about that we can relate to or put us in those situations.
To give people a little bit about the story, you've got a guy who's newly off parole. He's trying to reunite with his family, getting mixed up with some unsavory types that he's not supposed to, but he does anyway. It seems like he's really desperate to get his family back. This type of story, we've seen this sort of thing before. We've seen plenty of crime dramas. You know, since Scorsese did Mean Streets, it's hard to do anything new under the sun. What do you feel this film will bring that's new to the genre?
You know, it's hard for me to say, you know, people smarter than me will kind of be able to say that, but you know, look, I just try to tell a story that is authentic and interests me, you know, as an audience member. And these characters and the way they bounce off of each other and the actions. I mean, I was also fascinated, especially in today's world, you know, there's a lot of I think it's a good cautionary tale about male toxic masculinity, you know, in worlds like this. And in worlds where people live between the cracks of society, where they don't trust anything, they don't, you know, there's a kind of a lot of ignorance in these neighborhoods and the way I grew up. And I think you don't own anything, everything's decaying around you. You don't trust your police, you don't trust any of your systems that are out there. And there is this ownership of your own pride or ego and a sense of that you need to take things in your own hands. And a lot of times there's a lot of violent posturing that leads and escalates into very horrible outcomes. And I think that's why you see these cycles repeat over and over and over again, because it's like it becomes a pressure cooker for, you know, ordinary people in these extraordinary circumstances. And, you know, what do? You know, everyone wants to get out or wants to survive or wants to succeed, but their options, at least as they perceive, are very limited.
One thing I was curious about, and one of the strengths I think of the film, is that you have such a strong cast here, and it's a very character-driven piece. You know, like this movie needs really strong writing and really like great actors, and I really think you did that in terms of getting this cast together. But as good as the actors are, you still have some really difficult scenes to play in the film. Was that process like, did you get everybody together? Were you able to rehearse? How were you at tackling the scenes and working with the actors in those particularly tough scenes?
Well, we did a lot of talking. You know, I almost feel like rehearsals are a lot of times it's just talking about the subtext, the things behind of what's happening. And having, you know, I know Stephanie and I talked a lot about what Donna's going through, or Rudy Pankow, you know, even before he would take on the character and agree to do the film, we had many meetings where he wanted to emotionally understand everything that Jimmy was doing and understand it in a very deep way before he even said yes. So we were having a lot of those meetings before we were even going to technically work together. And I think that says a lot of what kind of actor he is, you know, and I feel like everyone really, really put that kind of work into the characters. You know, Luke brought so much to Adam and had such insight into this character. I mean, they seem to be excited to play these roles, and I think it shows. I think they were really committed to the characters.
Did you have these people in mind for the roles? Like Luke, I thought Luke Evans was, now Luke Evans is British, but he's doing a pretty good Brooklyn accent, if I do say so myself. And you have some other English actors, because it was not filmed here. I know that I definitely saw some recognizable exteriors, but you filmed this overseas, correct?
Yeah, we filmed it in Manchester, and yeah, and Alex Pettifer is another British actor, amazing actor. Luke, I always knew Luke was going to be amazing because, when I seen him in The Alienist and seen him do accents in other films, he's always his attention to detail. As a New Yorker, I've seen him do, different New York accents. And I was always amazed at the attention to detail. And he brought so much of that. And beyond that, he really created this character that I really felt like, I felt like, wow, there's Adam, and Alex, even his accent, which I felt like, wow, that's really ballsy how, when I first heard him doing it, I'm like, wow, we're going to be able to sustain that authentically through. And he did, it was, I was really impressed. And to me, it was very important, the accents I had. Rick Lipton is a dialect coach who we had on set every day. And he's one of the top in the industry. And he was there every day working and making sure. So this was something I didn't have to constantly be distracted worrying about. I could focus on, my job and have someone who's paying attention to every, the dialect and also keeping it consistent throughout the cast. So everyone's not doing their impersonation of a New Yorker, you know what I mean? It had to be a specific type of accent. And I think Rick did an amazing job in helping the cast all stay on track so they're in the same world.
The other thing that I thought was impressive, particularly about Luke's performance, and I can't say I have a ton of experience with this, but we've all seen characters, especially living here, they have that I just got out of prison look, and he has that somehow. Did he do some research on that? Did he interview people or anything?
I don't know what his research is specifically, but he definitely had a very clear vision of how he wanted Adam to look. I feel like it's a lot of it it's in his bones, it's in his acting, even the ideas he would have. I remember him telling me he really wanted Adam to have this feeling of when he walked down the street, people were like giving him dirty looks, like those old Westerns where they would shut the shutters, like you carry around your sins with you and everyone knows it and they'll never let you be free of it. And I think he brought that feeling with him, like there's a lot of things you talk about that you don't necessarily telegraph on screen, but you hope it kind of comes across, like you're saying, like as a feeling or a sense, you feel it. And I think that's what great actors do. They're able to bring things that are beyond the page, right? That are quirky things, I think of Rory, and he has all these little, nervous twitches and stuff that Mike has. They're little things that kind of give away more about the character and how insecure and how immature he is in a lot of ways, and how uncomfortable he is all the time in this world, and I think that's what great actors do. They just bring that other level of something visual and something tangible to these characters that make them feel more three-dimensional.
When you're making a movie like this, especially now, let's face it, man, in this thing, there's no tap number, like it's not a ton of laughs. Is there a certain impact that you're going for? Have you seen it with an audience yet? Were you able to kind of experience it yet?
No, you do test screenings, with try to get feedback, try to find things that are wrong, with it as much as you can. Not that you're going to please everyone, but, anything that you could always improve on. But I don't know what audiences will think about it. There are things, just my sense of humor, that I find funny. But, then again, I might find something like There Will Be Blood very funny at times, someone may not find that funny at all, I find a lot of Mike's stuff, Rory and I would be laughing a lot, like at certain times. So I don't know, it's definitely a dark ride, but I like dark films like Requiem for a Dream. I loved. Love Aronofsky's. I think he's just so brilliant with the way he explores darkness in film, but at the same time, you feel like there's a purpose, there's a reason for it. It doesn't feel gratuitous or just throwing you in a dark world for no reason, you know? And I'm trying in my own way to look at stories in that way, you know, where there is a redeeming reason to go and see this world. And maybe we see or think about how we would act in certain situations, or maybe it gives us empathy for people, or a little bit of empathy for someone struggling with things that we may not normally would, you know? I mean, I think those are the things I found exciting about the story.
In terms of the film, the cinematic landscape today, when, you know, we're sort of on this ride of like huge studio movies and tent poles and superheroes, and do you feel like this is a space that's been missing for a while?
I do. You know, I mean, this is a film where I don't see a lot of films like this particularly. Not that they're not out there and filmmakers are not making them or trying to make them. I just think it's just a tough industry, and it's getting tougher and harder. You know, the things that we had went through to make this film were Herculean tasks for us, to try to get this made and to try to convince people to get behind it. You know, it's very difficult, but I look now and I'm like, I can't believe I'm here talking with you about this film and it's going to be coming out. It's a shock that even after we made it, you're still like, it's not a guarantee you're going to finish it. It's not a guarantee it's going to come out. There's so many obstacles as a filmmaker that you are constantly faced with. You know, it's almost like you're just constantly standing in the storm and waves are hitting you and you're trying to keep your nose above the water, you know? You know, I think someone had asked me, you know, what's a good advice for a filmmaker, or, you know, what's a quality that you need? And I kind of keep coming back, you know, tenacity, right? For me, it's the most important quality that as a filmmaker you need, because that's what will sharpen your talent. That's what will help you get surrounded by people better than you and make your project better than it is. You know, I mean, this project, as I wrote it, would be a different film if I didn't have this kind of cast and didn't have this kind of support and didn't have Lionsgate who believed in the film. I mean, these are all miracles. These are, especially today, and especially with this film. I mean, you know, I mean, it's a lot of, you know, it's highlighting, and I think of it as a cautionary tale about toxic masculinity, but that's not an easy story to talk about today. So the fact that it even got made today is a miracle.
Yeah, you know, and Lionsgate coming in and getting major distribution, that's rare. And I don't know, people probably don't realize how rare that is. I do feel like seeing some of the films, we covered some of the films coming out of Sundance, and I did see these real indie original type films being made. I don't know if they're going to get distribution. I don't know if they're going to get an audience or, you know, make any money. It's nice to know that they're there, you know. But I do wish you a lot of luck. I know that I have to probably wrap up, but like, for the film, it's coming out here in March, and it's going to be in theaters and also VOD at the same time.
Wherever you go to watch your movies, you know, look for the theater and look for it on demand.
Thanks so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. And, you know, I'm always happy to be a part of anyone's junket, but good luck with it, man. You made a good movie, and you should be proud.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch it and think about it and have such insightful questions. It was really great talking to you. I really enjoyed it.
Great talking to you. Next film, come on down to the studio, man. If you're in Brooklyn, we'll talk.
I would love to. I hope I'm not all gray by then, but.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including our movie reviews, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank my guest, Phil Allocco, and our sponsor, JMR Rentals, for Behind the Rabbit Productions. I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.